Hi.
I
So people have been asking us when the podcast is coming back, and we delayed it. Do you want to share why we delayed the debut of season 9 of That Black Couple?
I mean, I think it's fair. I think we owe it to people to share why it's been delayed.
So tell them.
Why I got why?
Why I gotta tell them? I'm the black woman. It's labor.
Oh my God! You just want black men to do everything. Black men got to just carry the weight of the world
Mule of the
on our
world.
shoulders.
Yeah, mule of the world. Okay, come on, Zora.
Well, I mean, we've been delayed because there's been a lot of life. There's been a lot of life happening. If you all remember when the last season ended, we were in the midst of a move. We were moving. We were getting ourselves together. We were also constantly sending our first child off to college at the same time,
Hmm.
which was fun. And then right on the tail end of that, like we moved in, and then a week later, Jen was having open heart surgery.
Yay! So
And
fun.
so, I would say I think it's been a challenge. It's been
A little bit.
interesting, navigating a move, the loss of a child, and that they left our house. And
I
I
know.
would say he was kind of like the older brother, like really helpful.
Third
And
parent. The third parent. The third parent.
that burden was kind of passed on to me, and getting our house set up, and getting back into some sort of normalcy.
Yeah, because I was completely laid out and could
Right.
not walk,
Yeah,
and
and never mind like the healing part. So
we are celebrating. This is a big moment. We are celebrating
what are we celebrating?
our 20th wedding anniversary. Jesus
Y'all,
Christ.
y'all, 20 years.
Nigga.
20 years.
20 years. 20
Can you
years.
believe we look this young and have been married for 20 years?
Well, because we got married at 21 and 22.
Yeah, we cheated.
We cheated. I mean, we're gonna be married forever. We're gonna be like 80. It's like, "We've been married for 60 years." Like, it's gonna be that. So, no, this is exciting. We're back. Season 9, episode 1 of That Black Couple, and in honor of our 20th anniversary, our 20th wedding anniversary, but our 24th
Forward.
together anniversary, we are going to launch this season with an episode about marriage, what it means to be in a platonic marriage. This episode is called What the Fuck is a Platonic Marriage?
And
And
I
I
think this is
said,
probably the question we've gotten more than any other over the entirety of our marriage is what the hell is that?
what is it? How do you do it? So, this is season 9, episode 1 of That Black Couple. Grab your water. We only drink water now because we turned 40 and we can't be doing that stupid shit no more. So water, kombucha, matcha lattes. The beverages have gotten a little bougier. Have a seat. This is That Black Couple. I'm Jen.
Daring.
Before we get started, make sure you follow us on Threads and Instagram at That BOK Couple, on Facebook at That Black Couple, and look us up on the internet at www.thatblackcouple.com.
And if you're a loyal listener, you already know you can catch our podcast anywhere podcasts are streamed. That means you can find us on Apple iTunes, you can find us on SoundCloud, you can find us on Spotify, you can find us all over the place. But most importantly, above all else, you can find us on YouTube. And if
YouTube.
you happen to be listening to this podcast and not watching this podcast, I might give you a pass because if you're driving, it would be unsafe for you to be watching us at the same time. So I'll give you a pass. But I want to let y'all know you want to go to the YouTube. You want to subscribe to the YouTube. You want to see the visuals. It's much, much better. I work very hard. Okay. I work very, very hard. I want y'all to know this has always been and continues to be a homegrown podcast. Every episode that y'all have ever seen, that you have ever heard, has been edited by these two hands.
Please relax.
Okay. I work very hard for it to look and sound as good as it does. So I want y'all to appreciate it. So please go to that YouTube and subscribe there. And what I also want to say is, as I said, this is a homegrown podcast. As you might have noticed, we do not have ads on our podcast. This podcast is fully, fully, fully supported by the subscribers on our Substack. So
Mhm.
if you are not subscribed to the Substack, throw us a couple dollars a month. Join the Substack. It's not for nothing. We are posting stuff that is generative for Black people, especially Black creatives, every single week. Every single week, we are posting opportunities for you to get your work published. We are giving you inspiration to keep going in your work. We are giving you a lot of good content that's meaningful and valuable. So if you can, subscribe to that Substack.
So I want to jump in here too because technically we're also funded by my Substack.
Oh,
So that's how we fund all of this. Color Combos Media as an organization is fully funded by our subscribers. So you can go to jennandjacksonphd.substack.com and subscribe there, or you can go to colorcombosmedia.substack.com or subscribe there, or both, right? All you know in doing that is that that money will go to programming, podcasting, and all the work that we do to support Black and queer content creators. Okay. Are you ready to have this conversation?
I have been looking forward to having this conversation, actually.
I don't know why something in me is dreading it, but let's just do it. So first things first. I think I'm dreading it because when people say like what is a platonic marriage between a man and a woman, they come in with so many presuppositions and they ask me some of the wildest questions. Now, usually they're like, okay, I don't want to be disrespectful. Sometimes it gets a little rude. Yeah. So usually it's like, hey, how does this work? Why? That's a big one. But he's so cute. I don't get it. I get that a lot. He's so handsome. I'm
I
like,
am. I
you
mean, I
are.
am.
You are. That's why we made 3 children. But also, yeah, that doesn't really matter, because we've made some choices, for ourselves. The one that has really concerned me, and this is a recent one, was someone online. I was talking about being in I called it a lavender marriage because I feel like that's shorthand for a lot of people. They think of lavender marriages and they understand what it is. And so I said that. And they were like, well, lavender marriages are for people who are like hiding and like are not safe and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, I was like, but also for someone like me who is disabled and needs like a household stability, I need someone who I can count on, who can be like my person to take care of me at the hospital. And once I come home from, all these things. And they said, my gosh, I feel so bad for you. And I was like, why? They were like, you're trapped in this marriage with this person
Trapped.
who you don't actually wanna be with just because you're disabled, and that sounds so sad.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
And
That's a lot.
I was like, "How did you get that? I don't how did you get there?" And I just think it's so important that we explain why that kind of logic is problematic in this episode. So maybe we should share our story so people can understand
I
how
think
we
that's fair.
how we got here.
There's just so much layered in. Wow. They took it from 0 to 2,000,000
They're
with
like, "You're
no
a
stops in
lesbian."
between.
They're like and they were arguing with me. They're like, "I know you're unhappy. I know you are so unhappy." And people were responding like, "Why are you telling this person that they're unhappy in their life? They seem pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, they seem pretty." And they were like, "Ain't no way a lesbian's gonna be happy being married to a man." And I was like, "O okay." I mean,
I mean, listen, we're gonna get into it. I do want to say at the top, I feel like, as with most things dealing with us, I feel like people really suffer from a lack of imagination, and they suffer from an inability to open their minds to things that are not shoved down their throat, right? So like, even her coming at you saying, "I know that you're unhappy," right? We know where that comes from. That comes from a belief that relationships have to look like X, Y, or Z. And if you're not in one of those situations, then you must be unhappy because those are the things that define happiness, right?
that's right.
And I just really feel like, as Black people, as queer people, we need to be very, very serious about not locking ourselves into these norms and ideas that were not built by us, and they were not built to really encompass who we are in the
That's right.
world.
That's
Up
right.
top.
That's
Just
right.
want to make sure we get that out of the way.
That's right.
But yeah, I would like to kind of go into our story because I mean, we've talked about it on this podcast before. You go all the way back to season 1, and I believe, was it last season?
Yeah.
I think we kind of did like an update.
We'll recap.
So like, if you want the full story, you can definitely go and listen to those, and we talk about, how we came together at length, and it's really cute, and you'll like it. But our story, right, is we met freshman year. We met move-in day, moving into the dorms. We
At
were fast
USC
friends. We were friends
at University of Southern California,
at
not
University of Southern
at
California.
University of South Carolina, the other university in California.
We were the best of friends for a year.
Yes, we
The
were.
whole freshman year, we
Yes,
did
we were.
not date, at least
No, we
not
did not.
formally.
Nope.
I think we've since said that a lot of stuff that we were doing was dating.
Yeah, we held hands. We held hands, like, we walked arm in arm. We went everywhere together.
Yep.
We were inseparable. We ate lunch together. We went to classes together, and we if we didn't see each other, the day felt weird. It was
Yeah.
like, yeah, we didn't not hang out ever. It was a little gross and gagatocious, but we didn't know any better. And I want to also condition this too to say we have late diagnoses of ADHD and maybe autism as well. Probably also autism. We're still working on that diagnosis. And when I think back to the stuff we were doing through that lens, it makes so much sense that we just felt safe with one another. I always think about freshman year. At one point, you said something like, you were like, I don't know how you're gonna fit into my life, but I feel like you're like my guardian angel. Like I feel like you're just gonna be in my life. And I was like, dang, I feel the same way. And it was like that from the day we met. The day we met, I was like, I don't know who this boy is from Orange County, but I feel like we're supposed to just do the rest of life together. And at the time, I was super queer. I was walking around in Echo Unlimited suits and, Jordans and very, very queer coded and very openly queer coded. And so I didn't imagine that it was a romantic thing. I don't think either one of us imagined that it was I just thought you were my best friend. I just thought you were my best friend. That's it.
We was together. We was all the way together and locked in. And then, after a year, we was like, okay, I guess we dating now.
Yeah, I kind of liked you first.
Yeah.
I woke up one day and I was like, shit, 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 And I was like, he ain't got no piercings, he ain't got no gold teeth, he ain't got no locks, he ain't got none of the stuff that the Oakland niggas got. And I like him and I don't know what to do with that. So I told you, and then you treated me really weird. And then we moved on. And then we moved on. And then your cousin was like, y'all are dumb and y'all should be together. And I was like, he don't like me. And you're like, yes, I do. And I was like, I want to beat your ass. And then that's it. The rest is history. You
The
know?
rest is history.
This is history.
And I think like you brought it up, like these neurodivergent conditions, right? I think really does frame a lot of our time together, right? Even because we were dating and I always said, and to me this is a very asexual thing, right? Like I was like, I'm not gonna be just out here dating. If
Yeah,
I'm dating someone, I'm dating for marriage.
same.
When I say I'm dating for marriage, I'm like, I'm only going to date you if I can already see before we're dating that I can marry this person because I'm not wasting
Yeah,
my time and I don't care, right?
yeah.
Which at the time felt normal to me. In hindsight, I'm realizing a lot of other people have a lot of other drivers that
Yeah.
push them into relationships, did not have them.
Especially very handsome 18-year-old black boys who had
Yeah.
every girl throwing and guy and everybody in between just throwing at you. I mean, it was panties, it was boxers, it was like and you was like, you know what I'm saying? You know? Oh, so yeah, no, and I think for me, I now understand myself as also being on the A spectrum, which I never really quite understood, but I know that I'm demisexual, and so for me, like, if I'm not interested in your brain and, like, talking to you and spending time with you, I'm not gonna be attracted to you, period. And so I think that those 2 things work together in a way where we just like I mean, it's really corny. It's super corny. It's cute, but it's just so corny, and we just kind of grew together. We just kind it just kind of worked.
Yeah, and that was it. That's what it looked like, right? We, within the first year of dating, we were talking about how many kids, we were talking about where we wanted to live, what we wanted our house to look like, what we wanted it to be styled, as we were talking about what are my life plans, where do I want my career to be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now? What things do I want to accomplish? Where do I want a vacation, right? We were talking about those things and then putting them on an Excel
We
spreadsheet
had
and
a
planning them
spreadsheet.
out.
We sure did. I still have those
We
spreadsheets.
still have them, right?
I like to
And I
go
and
back.
I think it's important to outline it that way, right? Because when we're talking about this whole like, platonic marriage and what does it look like, right? I just want everyone who is listening to this podcast to realize, right? Like from the very beginning, we were about life planning. Right. We were about like what do we want each of our lives individually to be like? What do
Yep.
we want our lives together as a couple to look like? And let's put things into motion now to achieve those things,
Yeah.
right? I feel like in getting some perspective on these things, right? A lot of people are not looking at their relationships that way. They're thinking, "You're so cute, you know, I wanna go hang out with you and be cute outside together. Ooh, the sex is so good," right? They're thinking all of these other things, and these are the markers to them that say, "This is the good relationship. This is who I wanna be with. This is working out." Like, and not to say we didn't have those aspects of our relationship,
Sure.
but I think in the forefront was this is a person I want to build a life with. This is
Yeah.
someone who I love and care for
Yeah.
and see as worthy and see as my equal and as my match, as someone where we can build something amazing together,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't just all of those other feelingsy
Yeah.
types of things.
Yeah, I didn't even wanna have kids until I met
Yeah.
you. I had been told I couldn't have children, and I was like, "Cool, I'm gay. That's fine. That works for me." And then I met you, and I was like, "This guy is gonna be the parent of my children." And I had no idea how it was gonna happen. I was like, because I knew immediately that you were asexual. I could tell from the moment I met you.
I think you said that at one point, and I was offended actually.
You were, I
And I
know.
was like, "What the hell are you saying?
I know.
What are you implying?"
And I wasn't trying to be weird.
Right.
I just clocked you. And I knew I was gay, and so I was like, "This is gonna be my queer friend." You know, I was very good, like, "This is my queer friend. We're gonna be queer together. Yay." And then I became attracted to you sexually, and I was like, "Hmm, that's a wrinkle." You know, like, it was I will say, like, that was strange for me because I don't like people, and I certainly don't really like cisgender boys. You know, it's just kind of never been my thing. Um, and I think that's something that people forget about, like, a platonic marriage or a platonic relationship is that they don't always stay that way. They're not always one thing, right? So we moved into a very sexual relationship and, you know, and for both of us, it was our sexual awakening. So it makes sense, right? Like, even though I had been in situations where I was sexually assaulted and had a horrible experience with that, I also had this desire to be seen in those ways and where it felt safe. And you just felt so safe to me. You've always been such a safe place. And so I'm happy.
And to be clear, and I know we'll probably get into this more, but safety is quantified in so many different ways, right? It's not like this person is like non-threatening, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that build the concept and idea and the feeling of safety.
Absolutely. And you met all of them, right? Like, and we were only 18 and 19 years old. You know, we got married at 21 and 22. So at that point had been stuck together for like 4 years. And I always say, like, I'm really happy that I was able to explore that part of my life with you in a safe place where I didn't have to worry about getting my heart broken or being disposed of, or, you know, like, I got to really find myself as a person and navigate my sexual identity because you never really cared that I was queer. You never cared that I was taller than you. People would run up to you like, "Oh my gosh, she taller than you." And you're like, "Yeah, no," right? Like, and
It's true.
that really, I think, made a huge difference for me, and it I think it allowed us to move between the platonic and the romantic in ways that never felt like a threat to our friendship or our relationship, you know?
Agreed. We're gonna get into it in just a moment, but like I think when you think about a platonic marriage, right? It's the idea of what is the foundation that your marriage is built on, right? And just like you said, our marriage has taken a lot of different forms, right? We've definitely had like a more sexual period,
Yeah,
like a highly sexual period, and we've
it was
definitely
nuts.
had a
It
period
was
of
exhausting.
non-sexual, and we've had things in between. We've had
Yes.
time where we had no children. We had times that we had children, and now we have kids that are, growing up and leaving the house, right?
Yeah,
And I feel like I say it in that way to say that all relationships change
that's right.
and grow and move and become different things over time, right? In a platonic marriage, right, what the foundation is the love and the care and respect that we have for one another
Mhm.
to walk side by side with each other no matter
Mhm.
what form the relationship is taking at
Right,
any given point in time, right?
right.
And I think that's highly, highly, highly important.
I agree, and I think when people say, "What's the secret?" I'm like, "That's the secret."
That's
Like,
it.
I'm never leaving this guy. And I think, you know, people ask, like, "How did you go from romantic to platonic, and was that hard?" I think I'm not gonna sit here and say it was easy, it was confusing. It was more confusing than anything else because we had been in the church and raised that, I was raised like a woman makes herself sexually available to a man. And I was just I was ingrained it was ingrained in my mind. And you were navigating, asexuality and being a black man and what does that mean and how are people gonna think about your masculinity? It was all these different things happening. And I really feel like there was a point when we moved to Chicago. At that point, we had had 3 children, and, our youngest was, like, 2 or 3 years old. It was, like, 2016, and I'm like, "I'm gay," right? Like, I'm gay. I was, like, getting increasingly gayer, like, I was having these moments. I will never forget being at jury duty, and seeing this woman and being like, "Damn." I remember like, "Oh my god." And I called you and I was like, "Damn, I saw this woman, she got a fat ass." And I'm like, "I'm getting gayer," And I do think that moving away from home, moving away from California allowed us to really step fully into ourselves because as I was getting gayer and more openly polyamorous, you were leaning into your asexuality. And it was a tough transition at first, but then once we were like, yeah, we both feel like something else needs to happen here. Like we both are having a change. Then it felt safe because I think I would have felt bad or weird if I was changing in these ways and you were like, no, I still want, that would have been hard. That would have been hard.
I think that's the thing, right? Like I said, like walking side by side, no matter what's going on, right? Because and that's also where that safety comes from of being confident that you could you could choose tomorrow to dye your hair purple or to do anything, or I could choose tomorrow to do anything and know that I have someone who loves me and cares for me for who I am at the core, regardless of anything else, right? That's what really gives you that sense of safety and security. I really want to point out, like as you were saying, like through that transitional period, which like you said was really really hard, right?
Yeah.
Like it was hard. Like we were going through a lot emotionally in life. We were going through a lot, and then going through
Financially.
that type of a transition, it was
Yeah.
really running up against external societal pressures, norms, and ideas.
Yeah.
And that to me was the ultimate fight. Was to say the world is telling me what I feel, what I want, who I feel like I am is wrong. The world is telling me that my marriage can't succeed because we're not doing this or we're not doing that or we don't look like this. And having to fight that fight to say, fuck you, I'm going to go it my own way
Yeah.
because I have confidence and because of how I feel and how
Yeah.
and because of what I know. Right? And I'm going to find and seek my own joy outside of what the world tells me is supposed to be the source of my joy, my happiness, and
Yeah.
my success and prosperity.
Yeah. And I also think I wanna be clear, I also think there was something about the fact that we had already been married for 10 years. I just think, at that point, we had had 3 children, we picked up, we relocated from California, went to Chicago, you were shifting and changing into a new role in your job. I was in graduate school and they were beating my ass, and we were in Chicago all alone. We didn't have anybody, And it was like, this is one of that moment where it's like, are you gonna really dig in? Or are you just gonna walk away and lose something that's so critical to your life? And we were like, "Nah, we digging in." I just think that that moment, that time, that 10-year moment, there is something there that happens. 'Cause I feel like that's when we stopped arguing. That's when a lot of things changed, and we were like, "I don't wanna do that no more." We also turned 30 around that time. A lot of stuff happened at that same time. So given all of that background, I think we have to actually talk about the culture of platonic marriages and whatever is considered a lavender marriage, since people act like it's so rare and unknown. I think we had to give some folks some history.
Yeah, and you know I love research. You know I love a data point. You know I love facts and figures. And this is an interesting one. I mean, I knew some stuff about like lavender marriages and platonic marriages. I knew some things, right? But honestly I never really dug into like the lore, like all the history of that. And so I actually found this exercise a little bit, it was educational and it was interesting, right? And so when you think about like lavender marriages, right? Historically, like you said earlier, the color lavender, the color purple have been associated with like queer identities and with homosexualities, more so with that concept of having to be hidden, right?
Yeah.
The concept of I'm gay, but the world can't know, right? Like that color has been associated with that type of behavior.
Mhm.
It has its origins in the 1920s, where there were morality clauses that led to queer people having marriages of convenience, right? So it's basically like, I'm gay, but the world can't know that I'm gay, so I'm gonna marry this person. This person I'm marrying likely knows that I'm gay, but they're my friend. We have a really good relationship, and so they're gonna be my cover, right?
Mhm,
They're gonna be the person that makes sure that from society's eyes, I'm following the rules,
mhm.
while meanwhile I'm, in the shadows, living the life that I actually want to live, right? And
Yeah,
that's where the concept and the name of a lavender marriage really, really came from. But obviously times have changed, laws have changed, and right, so that term lavender marriage and those very concepts have now kind of been expanded, have been broadened out. Um, and now it's more so used when you talk about it's the same type of thing about like laws that are not very queer friendly, right? It's still all about adhering to and conforming to those laws. Like that's the way that term lavender is generally used. I am someone who I would say we are not in a lavender marriage.
no.
And based upon that history, I think people might understand why, right? It's because we are not hidden. It's not like we are married and we are acting like we're just this happy hetero couple out
Oh,
here living their best life while meanwhile we're doing all of these things that we keep hidden from the world. No, who we are is who we are, and we make it very known and we're very clear about it, right? So I don't like to use the word lavender because to me it feels like co-optation, and it feels also misleading and just incorrect for who
yeah,
we are and what our experience is. And that's why I am much more a fan of calling our relationship a platonic marriage, right? And that it's not just about the queerness of it all, right? It's that we have a platonic relationship, and our marriage is built upon that platonic nature.
yeah,
That is the foundation, that is the bedrock of our marriage, right? And that's to be distinct from more traditional common notions, to basically really call out that we are not adhering to those norms.
yeah. I completely agree, and that's the thing I think I've struggled with because people I'll say I'm in a platonic marriage and they say, "Oh, like a lavender marriage." I'm like, "Yeah, yes, right?" But, like, we've never been on the DL with anything. We've never been hidden about anything. Everything that we have shifted to or from in our relationship, we talked about first. It was like, "Okay, so I think I'm gay. So okay, how is that gonna work? Okay, I think I'm ace. Okay, so what do we alright, I'm definitely poly. So how do I like, it's always been like an open conversation, and it's been an effort to find alignment between our marriage and our interior selves, right? Like to say, okay, there's these things going on inside of me and I need to figure this out. Like, how do I want to show up now? And how do you want to show up? And how does this relate to one another? And so I think platonic marriage is the way to subsume all of that under one banner. But I
Yeah,
also sometimes feel like it's not enough, right? Because it's true. Like people will say, "But y'all had kids," and I'm like, "Yeah, we did. We absolutely had kids," you
yeah,
know. And that was a period of our lives, like a 10-year period of our lives, where it was like, "This is what we're doing," you know. And then we didn't want to do it anymore, you know. It's like I think to me, it's just a marriage. I don't know. I genuinely struggle with this effort to be like, well, marriage equals sex and marriage equal romance because I actually don't agree with that. I grew up watching my mother, who's been married now 6 times, marry these men who she was attracted to or whatever, and it was horrible. It was really bad, and I watched the women in my family get married and divorced and married and divorced and marry the same guy again and get divorced, you know? They were all marriages about romance and sex, you know? And I remember thinking, "That's ghetto," you know? Like, I remember being like, whatever that is, I don't want it. And so for a long time, I didn't even want to get married. I just was like, I don't, if that's what marriage is, I don't want to do it. And so I feel like with you and I, we have always decided like we're going to have the relationship that we want to have. We don't actually care what other people think about it. And we got married in part to become parents, right?
yeah,
To have a household where our family would be able to benefit from the ways that this society is not organized around heteronormativity. Like, if I'm being honest with you, like I wanted my kids to have the same last name as their dad so that they wouldn't have to go through the struggles that I watched my cousins go through. Like, I wanted them to have a nuclear presenting household so that as Black children, they wouldn't have to navigate all the things that I went through and you went through. Like, it was more like a we made an agreement. We made
Yeah.
an agreement, and we made a contractual agreement with the state to say, like, "Here are the protections." We get tax write-offs, like, we get all those things, and we wanted those things, you know? I wanted to be
And
able to know that you could be on my healthcare, you know?
and that way, like, it kinda is like a lavender marriage, right? When we like I was just talking about with lavender marriages, right? The whole point for their existence was to conform to basically society around them, right? And so in that case, like, that's a lot of what our marriage was to say, well, society is set up in a certain way. To do and be the things that we want, getting married knocks down some of the barriers.
Yeah,
Being married makes it easier. Being married makes some of those things possible. Being married provides some protections, right? Like, and that's from the eyes of the state, right? And that was a big thing for us in getting married and deciding, like, do we want to get married? Do we just want to be together? Or like, what it was to say, well, when we're married, we get all this other stuff. We won't be recognized by the government in the same way unless we have this piece of paper, right?
yeah.
And that had no it did not inform our relationship at all,
No,
right? Like our relationship has always been like rock solid,
that's right.
but it was a decision that we made
That's right.
to have certain outcomes,
That's
right?
right.
And to me, and it's kind of like when you think about the whole argument around like gay marriage and gay relationships, right? And the slogan is right, love is love, right? It doesn't matter who you love is love, and we need to recognize that love as the same regardless of the different elements involved, right? To me,
Mhm.
I think of marriage in the same way, right? Like
Same.
people get married for a lot of reasons. People
Yeah,
get married because someone got a fat ass. People get married because they have found their intellectual match.
sure.
People get married because someone's holding a shotgun to someone's head and said, "You got my daughter pregnant. Now y'all need to get married." Right?
Right.
There are a lot of reasons that people get married, right? And all those marriages are different. But I think at the core, right, to have a successful marriage, to have longevity, to have a healthy marriage, right?
Yeah.
What we have in our relationship is what any marriage would have.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. That's why I struggle with this whole platonic lavender, purple, blah, blah. Because I'm like, this to me is what a marriage is supposed to just be, right?
Yeah.
Like two people who have goals in life. You know, it was very much like, here's what I want to do, here's what you want to do. And we were like, okay, well, I want to support you in getting there. And you're like, yeah, I want to support you too. And I'm like, so let's just do this together. You know, it was very much like we had similar goals and aspirations. We had alignment. We wanted to have like a family. We had all these things. And we said, okay, well, let's just do that together, right?
Yeah.
Like, however that ends up playing out, let's just do it together. And I feel like it's one of those things, and this is where, as a political scientist and academic, I get frustrated, right? Because a lot of the definitions that we make are made in opposition to the thing that they're speaking against, right? And so, you know, rather than just calling our marriage a marriage, we have to call it a lavender marriage because a marriage is automatically assumed to be two cisgender heterosexual people of different genders who are procreating to make children, who are having romance, and it's just this very box, you know, here's the box, get in the box, here's another box, get in that box here. And I don't really want to have to define myself based on what I'm not, right? Because I'm like, I think our marriage is great, and it's one of the more successful marriages that a lot of people have seen. A lot of my friends are like, "Yeah, y'all are the benchmark. Like, y'all are the standard." When I think about my married friends, I think of y'all, which is always still hella weird to me because I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm too young for that. But, you know, but we are the elder married people in
Yeah.
all of our friend groups. Even the people who are married have been married much less time than we have, you know? And they'll be older than us and still be married for less time, you know? So I get it. I just feel like, you know, I just wish it was okay for us to just say, "Hey, we're married.
Well,
That's my spouse."
I want to take it in another direction, right? Because you are polyamorous, right? You are dating people, right? You are in dating
I
pool.
mean, not right now. My ass is single as hell, but yeah, sure.
But I mean, you've been looking. You've had some interest in people. Other people have had interest with you,
Yeah.
and what's coming to mind now is there was one person where there was some interest, right? And they were struggling with the fact that you are married to me,
Ooh, which one?
and they were struggling with the fact that you're married to a man, but you're a lesbian. And you explained our relationship to them. But then they also brought up this person, this queer person in their life, where they're like, this person is so close to me. I want them to live in my house upstairs and like be like my care partner and like
Yes.
right. And it was weird because you would do a better job like outlining the whole thing, but it
Yeah.
was weird because to me this it gets to the point of why people need to open their minds and not get so wrapped up in societal norms and stuff because what they described
Us.
was literally us. Where basically there's this person I love and I care for deeply. I cannot live without them. I do not have a romantic connection with them. I do want to have romantic connections with other people, but this person is so important to me. They need to be living in my house and I need to be building a life with them for the long term.
Yes.
But they could not grapple with the facts.
Yes. And they identified as monogamous, and I was like,
Right. But that's
"Okay."
like that's not what that is.
Both of them were queer, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay." And I had to just leave it alone because that's the thing. I think that's the problem is that really or when it comes to marriage is just a lot of deeply ingrained social norms, tropes, ideas,
Yeah.
stereotypes, right? And so then people look at us and go like, "That's weird." But then people get close to us and they're like, "This is the least weird marriage I've ever seen in my life."
Yeah.
Like, y'all make complete sense. Y'all are corny. You sit in the house and play boggle with your kids.
It's
You
super
got
boring.
2 dogs. We are super boring. Like, we're super boring. We just get along really well. We make dinner, like,
We eat
we
well,
we
we go
hang
on
out.
trips.
You travel.
Our kids love us, we love our kids, they're
That's
well-adjusted,
it's hella boring. We buy houses and we move to houses and then we take care of each other when we're sick. To me, this is the quintessential way a marriage should look.
but I think that's why people have such a hard time, right? Because of all the things those things you listed, a lot of times, like, when you think about people who, like, write these lists of, like, what they want in a partner and what they want in their marriage, right? Like, people look at us and they're like, "Oh my god, it's the whole list." All the things that I could dream of, all the things that I can never find, like, I might get half, but then the other half is terrible. I can never find these things. "Oh, no. Why is this so hard for me?" And you have all of them, but then they're like, "But y'all ain't fucking though?" So this is a weighted system that you have,
It is,
right?
it's
Like,
definitely
you
way
have 100 things, but this one thing counts for 90% of
it's so it's
and I know we talked about neurodivergence, and I know probably even talking about this, people are like, "What the fuck are y'all talking about?" Right? But that's the way I see it, right?
same.
Like no one is 100%, right?
No.
Like you've often said, like, "Damn, why can't you have some titties?" Right?
If you had titties, man,
Like, that would be so great. Like, what you were so great, but you ain't got no titties, right? And I'm like, "I don't have no titties,
if
and I'm not gonna have them.
you had
I don't
lit
want them.
me
I'm not
tell
gonna get them.
you,
I know it's possible in modern medicine. I'm not doing it.
I'm
I'm not
still
gonna be
hoping.
like the
I'm
gnomes
still
and
hoping.
put the breastplate on.
Still hoping.
It's
I'm
not gonna
hoping that
happen.
one day you'll be like, "You know what? Maybe."
No, it's not gonna happen. But again, like, you got all of these things, all the stuff that you want, and then there's this one piece
Yeah.
that says, "Fuck it, this I can't if I don't have this
I'm
one
not breaking
piece,"
up with you over titties. I told my
right?
therapist the other day, I said, "Listen," I told my therapist, I said, "I don't give a shit what nobody say. I know I'm a gay ass bitch. I'm never leaving this man." I said, "My man, my man, my man." She said, "Don't leave him." And she gay too. She was like, "Keep your man, girl." Like, I was
Every
like,
therapist I've ever gone to that I have told about our relationship was like, "Y'all figure that shit out. That sounds like an amazing setup." Every therapist, and I'm like, when your therapist is saying that,
"Listen."
people need to clue in.
Okay, so now we're getting into the closing, right? Because
Yes.
this is really about how our marriage has served us, right? And I like that you put that in this episode. I think that's really important, because I say it all the time. I do not think, and people always go, well, don't give Darren too much credit. Fuck that shit. I do not think I would be alive if not for you and your mother. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like meeting you during freshman year, I was unhoused. I was abandoned by both of my parents. I had just survived sex trafficking. And then I met you. And you were like, hey, hang out with me and my mom. Let's go to Disneyland and let's go eat at Laurie's. And I was like, okay. And it turned everything around. Right? Like you saw me immediately. You didn't give a shit where I came from. You didn't care how I dressed, how I talked. You didn't judge me. You was like, you cool. And I like spending time with you. And let's just go do stuff together. And it was the first time in my life where there was no transaction, there was no expectation, I didn't have to mask, I could be myself, right? And so that I'm like, I think about that now, right? About being here now 20 years later and all the things I had to work through over those 2 decades with, like, self-acceptance and self-worth and finally realizing it took me 10 years after that to even realize I had been sexually assaulted. You see what I'm saying? And in part, it was because I had that safe place with you to be like, "This is weird." I always think back to being 32 or 3 years old and sitting on the couch with you and watching that damn comedy special, and she was talking about how she knew she was gay because she was playing house with her friends.
Yeah.
I'm looking and I'm not laughing, and you're laughing, and I'm like and then she's like, "Yeah, me and my best friend." And I'm like, "Darren, am I gay?" And you start laughing at me because 'cause you're like, "Nigga, you been gay this whole time, right?" And I was like, "Holy shit, I'm gay." Now, had I been in gay situations and done gay shit? Yes, but I thought other people had done that, right?
Right.
I thought everyone was a little bit gay. And I'm like, do you know how hard it is for so many women who are bisexual or who are queer or whoever, and who are married to cisgender Black men, and how hard it is for them to look at them and go, I think I'm gay. And just know ain't nothing finna change. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to give you credit for who I am, right?
Yeah.
Who I am is who I am. But do I want to give you credit for making me feel safe to be who I am? Yes.
And you get the same credit, right? Like, I am who I am, right? And I am who I am because that's who I am. But like, this has been a journey. When I think about who I was coming out of high school before I met you to who I am now,
Yeah.
right? I am the same person.
Yeah.
But back then, I was so heavily masked. I was like, all I was a mask.
That's true.
Right? And it took, again, having that safe space, having the safety to be with someone who is completely non-judgmental,
Yeah.
but also can see straight through all of it to see who you actually are, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing I think for both of us, like, day one, we saw each other and it's like, I know who you are.
Locked in. Locked in.
I know
Yeah.
I've not even really had a conversation with you yet, but I know who you are,
Yeah.
right? And that built that if you're listening to this podcast and you never had that, I wish on all that is good and holy that you have that with one person in your life.
I agree.
To be a complete 100% safe space to just be who you are and to figure out who you are with no judgments, no punishments, no fear for what happens if it really allowed me to strip off all those masks and figure out, well, who the fuck are you? Like,
Yeah.
who are you actually? When you strip away the stuff that you're doing to perform for these people and perform for those people, and to act this way, so society is okay with you, and so that you don't embarrass yourself here. Like, who actually are you underneath all of that, right?
Yeah.
And to have someone who sees it and then can support you when that person emerges and not shame you and not have you feel bad about it, right? Is like it is priceless.
I agree.
100%.
I agree. And I think this is the last thing. As you were saying that, I was thinking about, yeah, there's the part of like not masking, but then there's also the part because for me, my biggest fear was abandonment, right? My parents had just abandoned me and left me on the streets. And so, I had this deep fear. Everyone's gonna leave. No matter what happens, everyone's gonna leave. Eventually people leave. I remember I used to say that to you, like, you're gonna leave me. Something's gonna happen, you're gonna leave me. And then you just kept not leaving. Just like you kept staying. And there is something also healing about not having to live your traumas in your marriage, right?
Yeah,
Like not having to constantly be re-triggered in my marriage by the things that have happened in my life, right? Not having to worry that you're going to be physically abusive or verbally abusive or or abandon me or, go back on your word or all of these things. And I do think that sometimes, and I shouldn't say something, I know this, right, as a polyamorous person who has dated my trauma many, many times. Like, there's something I find about a lot of romantic relationships where we just act out our traumas over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I feel like with you, and I still wonder how the hell I did this because I'm like, how did I figure this out at 17? But with you, it was like the first time I was not acting on my trauma to cultivate a relationship. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I feel the same way. Like, for me, it was manipulation.
Mm,
I feel like I've been manipulated and lied to by a lot of people, and so that made me a very untrusting person, and it was weird to be with someone who immediately I could trust, and I had to fight my own, like, learned instinct
yeah,
to not trust.
yeah,
Instinctually from how I grew up with the people that I was around, with a father that I had, right, like, everything was a game. Everything was a match of wits. Everything was navigating and fighting, and when someone said something, I had to figure out, well, what do I have to do as a counter move, right? And with you, that was gone. And
yeah.
that was scary at first because then I was like, that means the other shoe is gonna drop. It's gonna drop a year from now, it's gonna drop 10 years from now, and I'm gonna go, damn it, you got me, right? Like, but that's the thing, like, and that's why I'm like, what we have, I wish for everybody.
Right.
Whether it's in a marriage, whether it's in a friendship, whether it's in some other platonic relationship, whether it's in a romantic relationship, whatever it is, I really wish for everyone to have that safety and that
Same.
love and that care and that comfort.
Same, same, and if it shows up in a platonic relationship, that's okay. If it doesn't include sex and romance, that's okay. If it does, that's also okay. I just want
Yep.
people to be okay with however their people show up. If it's your person, you know, and I just want people to not take that for granted because it doesn't fit in the boxes they were taught they were supposed to be in.